Welcome everybody to the ninth class in this Bodhah study series. So as usual, we'd like to acknowledge Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati for the traditional rendering of Vedanta as it was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. We'll say a small prayer. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankaracharya in the middle and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati. Okay, so far, this is where we were. So in the study of Vedanta, people go through 5 stages usually. First, before the study, the general notion is, I'm the body. The I is the body. And then people realize there is a consciousness in my body. So see how it changes till it is my body. Then there is something else called the consciousness. And then in the third stage, now it's like it's kind of there's a separation between consciousness and the body. And then in the third stage, I am that consciousness, different from the body. The body is like a cloth I wear, and also different from the mind. Mind is something that I use like an instrument. It's like a spectacle that I wear to see things. So this becomes the notion. So till this stage, anybody who has a little practice of yoga, meditation, who have some state of calm, they can see that they are different from the mind because they are able to observe the thoughts in the mind. Anything you observe is not you, the subject object. Anything you observe becomes the object. So from till this stage, it is clear. And now comes the giant leap, which is I am the same consciousness in all bodies. So from here to here, there are different ways to understand. So Vedanta uses a lot of logic, but also it relies on the practice of Vedantic meditation, which is called Nididhyasanam. And to get to this stage, you need to have some semblance of calmness of mind. So I am that consciousness in all bodies. And this is also, you can deduce this from logic, because if you accept the fact this consciousness doesn't have a property and all that, then it's very easy to understand. Because if you say the consciousness has boundary, then you're giving it a property. It has this, it is confined to this volume, all that. But consciousness doesn't have any property. And to get to understand this, there's a lot of arguments given, lot of logical reasoning given in Vedanta. So you can approach it through logic, or you can internalize it through meditation, and both are sometimes needed. And I also talked about siddhis. When the mind becomes quiet, people really undergo these experiences which are not common in day-to-day life. These are called siddhis, but in the yogic parlance, these are normal. But we don't experience that because the mind has not achieved that level of calmness. Then the stage 5, I, the consciousness alone am, and the world is just a mental projection like in a dream on me. So this is the perplexing truth. And this requires a good level of calmness of the mind. But in any case, if you attained until stage 3, you're able to distinguish the mind and the body from you. There's enormous peace of mind and space to make decisions, because your decisions are not made looking just at this lifetime, but across all your future lives too. So this is where all these um, the theory that we learn is put into practical use, because it reshapes your outlook. Okay, so with that, we will go to the next shloka. So now Shankaracharya is talking about this, the jnana palam and jnana drishti, that is the fruits of this knowledge, and how does a person who has attained this knowledge look upon the world and everything. अतद्व्यावृत्तिरूपेण वेदान्तैर्लक्ष्यतेऽप्ययम् अखण्डानन्दमेकं यत् तत् ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्. Realize that to be Brahman, which remains even after the negation of all the, even after the negation process. Second. So know that to be Brahman, which remains after the negation process. Give me 1 second here. Right? Okay, good. So here, we saw this. There's the concept of neti neti. So which means, how do you understand yourself? It is by process of eliminating everything that is the object. If you are the subject, anything that you experience becomes the object. That is not you, because you cannot experience yourself. You can only see a reflection. You cannot fully see you. So atad vyavritti, atad means tad, tat means that, even in English, that atad means not that. So by the process of atad vyavritti means to remove, to turn away from. Vritti, it's a vritti. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Vritti means vritti. It's the word comes from vr, which means to turn. So vyavritti means to about turn. That is, you move away from. So realize that to be Brahman, which remains after this process of atadvyavritti rupena, by the process of saying not this, by the after the negation process, not that, of everything that is not Brahman. And Vedantair lakshate avyayam. This is indicated in the Vedanta. In all the scriptures, Vedantair lakshate avyayam. Lakshate means it's pointed out as imperishable, the imperishable Brahman. And what is that nature? Which akhandam means which is indivisible, and anandam, which is blissful, ekam, and there's only one. It is pointed as akhandam, anandam, ekam, indivisible, blissful, and one. And it's also avyayam, which is indestructible. It is one without a second. There's only Brahman. Everything is a projection on this. So this is the final step, right? Like in the last process, I, the consciousness alone, am, and the world is just a mental projection like in a dream. So I told you about Shankaracharya's teacher was a person by the name Govindapada, and his teacher is the very famous Gaudapada. Gaudapada is considered the pinnacle of Advaita Vedanta. It comes from Gaudapada, and phenomenal logician and teacher. So he is most famous for his Mandukya Karika. So Mandukya Upanishad is considered, it's the shortest Upanishad of all the important Upanishads, and it's considered a very important Upanishad because it has the essence of Vedanta in just a few verses, 10 or so verses. And he is Gaudapada, Shankara's teacher's teacher, gives a commentary of 223 verses. All these are in meter form, in Anushtup meter. These are called Mandukya Karikas. And there he explains why this is the only theory which holds good. So this is relating this famous, this is called the theory of non-causation, or theory of non-origination. So um, and this means that things, if you say something is created, as I said before, matter cannot be created just like that. It has to come from somewhere, right? So it is the only thing which fits with science. So the entire thing is like a projection. That is the only theory which would make sense. So that's why this is also popular with all the atheists and scientists who don't want to bring in God and faith and say, oh, God flipped a switch and everything happened. No. And so this logic is acceptable for a lot of people who believe they are scientists and atheists. So there is the one without a second. So everything is a projection on Brahman. Vedanta lakshate dvaya. Okay. Now, Shankaracharya indicates that Vedanta is the pramanam. Pramanam means source of authentic truth, and it reveals Brahman. But if Vedanta directly reveals Brahman, then it will become an object. Brahman becomes an object that is revealed. So if something is revealed, so Brahman, you can see Brahman through Vedanta. By studying Vedanta, oh, everything is clear. Then Brahman becomes an object. But we know Brahman, or the consciousness, that is you, is not an object. You are always ever the subject, never the object. To clarify this, Shankaracharya says it is revealed indirectly. So every verse is very carefully chosen and it has a certain meaning. So he says that it relies to be Brahman, that which remains after the negation process as indicated in the Vedanta. So that is the reason for including this verse. अखण्डानन्दरूपस्य तस्यानन्दलभाश्रिताः ब्रह्माद्यास्तारतम्येन भवन्त्यानन्दिनो किला. Okay, so here he's again glorifying this, the Ananda part. So we saw three parts: Akhandam, Anandam, Ekam. Akhandam, indivisible, Anandam, bliss, and Ekam. Now he illustrates the Anandam part. And what is the Anandam part? Brahma and all others, deities, Akhanda Ananda Rupasya, this which is of the nature of indivisible bliss. You can't separate this. It's indivisible one bliss. Akhandananda Rupasya is a nature of indivisible bliss. Tasya Ananda Lava Ashrita. The Brahma and others who depend on a drop of this bliss. What kind of bliss it is? It's the nature of indivisible bliss. And Brahmadyas Taratamyena Bhavanti Anandino Kila. They become proportionately delighted. So those who are in the higher worlds, so there are different worlds according to the philosophy. We are in the middle, Manushya Loka, the human beings are there, and then there are these heavens. So let me see if I can pull a slide. So Bhu, Bodhah, Suvaha, all these different worlds. Let me see. There are these words. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you can see this is our world. Bhuhu, Boha, Soha, Maha, Janaha, Tapaha, and then finally Brahmaloka, and then all these nether worlds where if you committed sins, then you go stay there, exhaust your karma, and come back. This is the place where karma accumulates. Okay, so there are all these different worlds, and people in the higher worlds. That's why it says bhavanti aratam yena. They are proportionately delighted. So you go, that one drop of bliss, if you go to the high, if you're in the Brahmaloka, you are delighted so much more compared to the lower worlds, because you're more receptive of that bliss. Brahma and all other deities who depend on a drop of that bliss, of that which is of the nature of indivisible bliss, this is the Brahman, become proportionately delighted. Tasya Ananda Lava Ashrita, because they all depend. Ashrita means they are supported by, or they depend on lava, a drop of that bliss. Tasya Ananda, its bliss. What kind of bliss? It is indivisible bliss. Brahmadyas Taratam Yene, they become proportionately delighted. And so to explain this, now the question may come, what is the so Brahma is symbolic of the creator. So all this is just symbolisms used, and Brahma symbolizes the creation process. So how much is Brahmananda, the bliss of Brahman? So from the Taittiriya Upanishad, it says this is a sequence of happiness. Each successive level is 100 times the previous one. So Manushyananda, one human happiness, that's the baseline, how much maximum happiness we can enjoy. So the next world, there are different worlds, right? In the next world, the Manushya Gandharva Ananda, that is these divine beings, these people, they experience 100 times maximum human happiness. And then the Deva Gandharva Ananda, Gandharvas are celestials. These celestials are, Manushya celestials are closer to humans. Deva celestials are closer to the gods. Deva Gandharva Ananda, 100 times that of the previous one, Manushya Gandharva Ananda. Then Pitruloka Ananda. These are, Pitruloka refers to these ancestors. So people who have done a lot of good deeds, they go stay in those worlds where they experience all the pleasures. So they're uh, exhausting all the benefits from the good karma they did, and then they finally come back to the human world, um, as any of the beings. Then Ajana Devananda, so this is a type of Deva. And then Karma Devananda, Devalokananda, then Indra. Devaloka is where all the gods are. Gods are symbolic of all the forces of nature. Varuna, Vayu is the wind god, Varuna, water, and all these Agnis for the fire, all this symbolic of all the forces of nature. So that's where the Devas live. And then the lord of all the Devas is an entity called Indra. And then Brahaspati. Brahaspati is the preceptor of all the gods. Then Prajapati, the one to whom Brahma has given the task of creation. So he has delegated the task, Prajapati, and then Brahma himself. Okay, continuing. Tadyuktamakhilam vastuhu vyavaharashchidanvitaha tasmat sarvagatam brahma shire sarpirivakile. Tadyuktam akhilam vastuhu, associated with that Brahman. Akhilam vastuhu means all objects, and vyavahara, akhilam vyavahara, all worldly transactions. You have to add akhilam to both. Akhilam means all. So all the objects and all the transactions are associated with that Brahman. Tat yuktam, that yoked, yuktam means yoke. The word yoga also comes from that. Here it means associated. So tat yuktam means yoked to that, or associated with that Brahman. All the objects and worldly transactions are taking place. And how are they? Chit anvitaha, they are pervaded by consciousness. Therefore, Tasmad Sarvagatam Brahma Shire Sar Pirivakile. So there's another beautiful simile. Brahman is all pervading as ghee permeates milk. So butter, so they make butter from milk, right? But can you see butter in milk? No, it just permeates, but you can extract it. So just as butter or clarified butter is ghee, pervades milk, Brahman pervades everything. So the so, so there is also a very famous shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, which is usually chanted before people eat, even in some of these ashrams. If you go to the Shivananda ashram in Grass Valley, before eating, they chant this shloka. It says, Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi Brahmaknau Brahmana Khutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. All the actions, Brahmarpanam, whatever is given. So those days they made a lot of these rituals, the yajna, which is they built a fire, they pour ghee, chant mantras. So that used to be like the pinnacle. They did a lot of those yajnas. Now they don't do, people don't do that much yajna, they do more pujas. So Brahma Arpanam, what is put into the fire is Brahman. That basically all actions are Brahman, all objects are Brahman. Brahman is everything. It's all pervading. Everything is an appearance on Brahman. That's what is said in this shloka. Okay. Ananvastulamakhrasvam adirgamajamapyayam arupa gunavartnakyam tatpramyetyavadharayet. Realize that to be Brahman. Look at each of the words is so beautifully chosen, and it's chosen for a purpose. So Shankaracharya is telling, realize that to be Brahman, which is neither subtle. Anu means atom. So the word atom is also derived from this. It has a root same as anu. Anu means atom. It is not anu. So anu means to follow. Anu means atom. So it's a na. Atom which cannot be divided. Those days they thought atom means the smallest unit which cannot be divided further. An anu means it is neither subtle. Here it means neither small. Astulam, astulam means it is neither gross or here it refers just gross. Akrasvam means not short. Hrasvam, short. Hadirgam means long. It is neither long. Ajam, without birth. Ja means birth. And then avyayam, it is imperishable, without perishability. These, realize that to be Brahman, which is all this. Neither subtle nor gross, neither short nor long, without birth or perishability. Arupa guna, without form. Rupam means form. Arupam means without form. Without guna. Nirguna. So this negation should be added to other things. Varnakyam. The varnam means color. Without qualities, without color. Akyam means description. So it is without form, rupam, guna, qualities, varnam, color, akyam, or description. Tat brahmet avadarayet. Avadarayet means realize that to be Brahman. So now you may ask, why is Shankaracharya, it seems to be constant repetition. He's just saying different things. Everything has a purpose. He's doing this for a reason. What is the purpose of these contradictions? He's saying it is neither short, neither long, all those things. What Shankaracharya is saying is, stop searching. Don't say, oh, I want to get this Brahman. I'm trying to look for, visualize something very big. That is Brahman. No, that Brahman is you. Intellect must stop the search because it is neither that nor this or that. If the intellect stops its seeking, what will happen to the intellect? If it's not going outward, it settles in itself. That is why in the Yoga Sutras also, the third Yoga Sutras says, Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. So the intellect, the reflection, it rests on itself. So the sought is not outside, but it is the seeker. I'm not saying it is in the seeker. It is the seeker. This is the whole purpose of negation. The seeker is the sought. And in the Bhagavad Gita also it says, this technique, this is commonly, so Shankaracharya just uses things from the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the condensation of the Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita also it says, Sukshmatva tada vigneyam duhurastam chantike chatat. Because it is so subtle, it's difficult to understand. And it is neither far nor near. So these kind of examples are used to tell it is you. So it's neither far nor near. So because not even near, because it is you. There is not even a millimeter distance. So far, is this clear, everybody? Any questions here? Okay. All right. Yad basa bhasyaterkadi bhasyairyatuna bhasyate yena sarvamidham bhati tad brahmetyavadarayet. Realize that to be Brahman, by whose light are illumined the sun and the others. Yad basa basate arka adi. Arka refers to the sun. Adi means, Adishu means, etc., sun, etc. That's the sun and the others. Yatbasa, by whose light, Bastyate, are illumined. Bastyati means that which is illumined. Yatbasa means by whose light is illumined the sun and the others. Bhasyai yattuna bhasyate, but which is not illumined by those that are illumined. So this is similar to the mirror example. So there is a room. Remember, we saw that example in this room. There's light shining through a window, and it's a dark room. There's only one small hole window through which sunlight is shining. Then you kind of tilt the mirror to some people do that in some places. They put a mirror right in front of the area to or make that entire wall full of mirrors, so there's more light in the room. So this is a technique that's used. So if you turn that mirror, then different portions of the room are illumined and they are revealed. Now, to know this, the sun, are you going to shine light that reflect the sun on its own to understand it? No, that's what it said here. It is not illumined by those that are illumined. That is the luminous objects in the sky. Bhasyair yattuna bhasyate. Bhasyayaha, those that are illumined, is not going to illuminate this Brahman. Bhasyai refers to those that are illumined. So bhasyam means that which is illumined. Bhasyai, those that are illumined. Okay. But bhasyate means to be illumined by. Okay. Ena sarvam idam bhati, and by which this entire universe shines, or shines means what? So all these are metaphoric words. By which all the universe shines means what? It appears in our consciousness, shines in our consciousness. So this word bhati is used throughout the Upanishads. It means shine, where shine not physically shine, but shine in the consciousness. So that is the Brahman, by whose light everything is illumined, and by which all this universe shines in our consciousness. So that, realize that to be Brahman. Um, and this is actually, Shankaracharya has taken this from Kathopanishad and Mundaka Upanishad, two very important Upanishads. And so there it says, the sun does not shine there, the moon and the stars do not shine, lightnings, much less the fire. When it shines, everything shines after it. They use the word him. When he shines, everything shines after him. His light, all from his light, all these shine. So that's the essence of the shloka. So that which illumines everything, that is the consciousness. Okay. स्वयमन्तर्बहिर्व्याप्य भासयन्नखिलं जगत् ब्रह्म प्रकाशते वह्निः प्रतप्ताय सपिण्डवत्. Swayam antar bahir vyapya, itself pervading. Swayam itself, antar bahir vyapya, pervading everything, outside and inside. So antar means inside, bahi means outside, pervading everything means entire universe, outwardly and inwardly. Bhasayan akhilam jagat, it by itself it makes everything shine. Bhasayan means, bhasayati means that which makes everything shine. And example given, so Brahma prakashate, so makes everything shine. Prakashate, Brahman makes everything shine or light up. Like what? Like vanihi, fire. Yasa pindavata. Yasa pindavata means a iron ball. Pratapta, like a glowing red. The word tap means tapas. You heard the word tapas? Tap means to heat. The root comes from tap, to heat. Like fire. Pratapta means well heated. Pra means pro. Like say, roots are very similar. Pratapta means well heated, glowing red iron ball, like a fire that makes iron ball heat and shine. Yasapindam. Yasapindam means it's just a lump or a piece of iron, or lohapindam. Like a fire makes a iron ball glow from inside, and it pervades outside. The fire, it pervades, and it also goes in and makes it shine. So that is the example, beautiful example used. So the Agni Tattvam, the Agni fire principle, pervades inside the iron ball as heat, and it's just outside as light. So like even a dull iron ball glows when heated by fire. The Brahman illumines everything in the universe and makes them shine, including the mind, which is otherwise inert. Okay. Um, a piece of iron, when cold, appears dark and does not, it's just a dull thing. But when it's heated in fire, it glows brilliantly, appears to have a light on its own. Similarly, the mind and intellect are inert by themselves, but when illumined by the Brahman, they appear to appear sentient and active. So this analogy is used to illustrate that the Brahman is the ultimate light or consciousness that makes even the mind appear to shine. Because we think brilliant person, that person has a mind that just is so radiant mind, all that they use, it is because of this consciousness. Mind itself is inert otherwise. Okay, so now we are going to, so we have 6 more verses left, which we will reserve for the next class. In here, I wanted to go into the inquiry into creation and the concept of God. Okay, This is not something that Shankaracharya covers in Atma Bodha. Like I said, Atma Bodha is a level 1.1 text. It's not 1.0. So Tattva Bodha is a different text which is usually studied. We skipped Tattva Bodha and came to Atma Bodha because of the analogies and because of the beauty of the verses. Tattva Bodha is in prose form. The student asks a question in as a question. There's no meter, no chanting, and the teacher explains. So that's how it is. But there, creation is explained in detail. Okay. So now let's recap what we've studied to come to creation. Does anybody remember the three bodies that we talked about? Can anybody say? We have three bodies to us, right? Can anybody take a guess and tell me? We've studied that in detail, and we've
The physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body.
correct. Yes. That's called the sthula shariram. That is the gross body or the physical body. The sukshma shariram, that is the subtle body, and the karana shariram. Karana means cause. So it's not casual body, it's causal body, cause, because it's like the seed. Even after the dissolution of the universe, it is the seed. It's like the DNA from which again things come out. And we can also, there are different ways to classify. We also saw you can classify based on personality. That is, a person is an emotional person, intellectual person, a strong pranic person. This person is like a sturdy or physically strong. And then there's the bliss body. So based on personality, you can classify into 5 sheets: Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, emotional body; Vijnanamaya Kosha, intellectual body; Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss body, which is experienced in sleep. The classifications, you can relate them, or you can classify based on raw material, gross raw material, subtle raw material, and also longevity. The physical body, the body, the bones, flesh, all that, their lifetime is 80, 100, or at most 120 years. So even in Vedic astrology, after 120 years, the Vimshottari, it resets again. It circles itself. So 120 years used to be thought of as the maximum lifespan of a human being. So this lasts maximum 120 years. Then there's Sukshma Shariram, the subtle body consisting of the mind, prana, all that, which lasts until the dissolution of the universe or until you get liberated. And then there's the causal body, which is dissolved only during moksha or liberation. Okay. Now, another recap. So the example that is used, there is consciousness everywhere. The reflection of the sun in a pot with water is the reflected consciousness. This is what we are experiencing in our mind. It makes us look sentient. The pot is the individual gross body. This is the body. The water is the subtle body. After the water can evaporate and it's recycled by the atmosphere and it falls somewhere else and you can collect it in a pot. The causal body is not talked about since it's relevant only during the dissolution of the universe. And the sun is like the Brahman, the original consciousness. So one sun, many reflections. So there are different parts, each representing each of our bodies. So we're all different that way. But there is one consciousness, and that comes as multiple reflections in each of us. Each of our mind seems to be sentient and reflecting. Each is like a little reflected sun. That is what gives sentiency in us. And the ripple in the water is like there are like thoughts in the mind. Remember, the water is like the subtle body, including the mind and everything. There's a reflection of the sun in each part. So far is this analogy clear? We've seen this before also. Okay. Now, the most important thing I wanted to say is there is a reflection. I've shown you the reflection in the water. Now, when the sun reflects, the pot inside of the pot is dark, but when the sun reflects, the entire inside of the pot becomes illumined. Okay, so they talk about three types of reflections. The causal body reflection is not shown here. So classification based on experience at the micro and the macro cosmic levels. Remember, I told you this individual consists of three bodies: this gross body, subtle body, and the causal body. And these correspond to our three states. So we have three states. The three states are waking state, Jagrat Avastha. Avastha means state, Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, dream state, and Sushupti Avastha, deep sleep state. So these are the three states. The Jagrat Avastha, the waking state, corresponds to the gross body or the Sthula Shariram. The dream or the Swapna Avastha corresponds to the subtle body or the Sukshma Shariram. The deep sleep or the Sushupti Avastha corresponds to the causal body. So, two things you note in deep sleep. We all like deep sleep because it is just joy. We don't have any worries, anything. It is complete ignorance. You agree? Because there's nothing, no dream, nothing. You are just totally ignorant. You just, all your worries are cast aside. You experience total bliss. So ignorance is bliss. Deep sleep is also bliss. And that is the total ignorance that is called the causal body. That is the closest to experiencing the Maya without any perturbations. Okay, so I also said there is the individual level and then there is the cosmic level. So micro and macro. At the individual level, we have different reflections. So the reflection, the reflected consciousness at the micro level or individual level on the gross body is called Vishwa. On the subtle body, it is called Taijasa. And on the causal body, it is called Prajna. So one other way people do that is, so initially it is, the consciousness is reflected on the Prajna, then from this reflection it goes to the second medium, which is the Taijasa, and it becomes on the mind, and then from the mind into the body. So this is one way to look at it. But there are three reflections. That's the most important thing. Reflection on the gross body, reflection on the subtle body, and the reflection on the causal body. Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna. The same thing happens at the macro level also. At the macro level, what is the body? The gross body is the entire universe, all the physical forms. The entire universe is at the macro level. It's called Virat, Virata Rupam. It is called at the entire cosmos, the cosmic form. That is the macro gross body. And then the Hiranyagarbha, that is it essentially means the golden womb. This is the sum total of all the subtle bodies in the universe, all minds, intellects, cosmic energies. It is the first projection of creation from the unmanifest. And what is the unmanifest? Here also unmanifest is the causal body, because nothing is manifested. There are no thoughts, nothing. Everything is quiet. So unmanifest is the causal, then manifesting into the subtle and showing out, interacting with the world through the gross body. Similarly, that which is unmanifest, that is called Antaryami. So Virat is the entire physical, tangible universe, all the planets, stars, galaxies, physical beings. Hiranyagarbha is the golden womb, sum total of all the subtle bodies, and antaryami. Yama means control. Antaryami means the inner controller, the cosmic causal body. This is also given the name Ishvara or Paramatma. Ishvara, so this is how it is explained. It is the Ishvara refers to just the pure consciousness coexisting with pure Maya. It's easy to understand at the individual level. Individual level, there is consciousness. Now, we said all the objects, everything is an interplay of light and darkness. Yes or no? So we saw that in one of these early verses. So we saw everything is an interplay of light and darkness. So when the light and darkness mix, then you create all the variegated shapes and forms. Everything happens in that level. Okay. So, okay. Now, when in deep sleep, the light and the darkness, they're just there. There's no interplay. They're both on their own. There's no mixing, right? Similarly, at the cosmic level, it is the consciousness. It's the same consciousness, but it's called Ishvara. Remember, consciousness in the context of the body is Atma. In the context of the universe is Brahman. Similarly, there is consciousness coexisting with Maya without intermixing. This is called Ishvara. This is the unmanifested universe. And from it, from Hiranyagarbha and Virat come out. So this is the Ishvara is the cosmic equivalent of the individual's causal body or the Karana Sharira. It is unmanifest seed state of everything in the entire universe. It is the total potential of everything that is to be created. It's the inner potency. So Antaryami. Antaryami means inner controller. It's a perfect description for Ishvara in the role to as the unmanifest source from which everything is controlled and emerges. So, as I said, Karana Shariram represents total ignorance. It's equal to Maya. And they call it as reflection, but the intermixing has not happened. So there is consciousness and Maya just existing like that without intermixing and creating all these forms. This combination is called Ishvara. So Ishvara, the technical definition is Brahman and Maya, light and darkness existing just side by side, not mixing, not to create shadows and all those variegated forms. So this is Ishvara. Okay. So far, any questions? Is it kind of understood? Anybody? Okay. Now let's look at the process of creation. The seed of creation, how it came about. So this is said in the Bhagavad Gita extensively. So Nirguna Brahman with Maya, we said is Ishvara. Brahman is equated to the father principle. Don't take it gender and all this. None of these have genders. But figuratively speaking, Brahman is the father principle. Maya is the mother principle with the three gunas, qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. In the Bhagavad Gita, Shloka 14.3, Bhagavan says, the entire Prakriti is my womb in which I place the seed. That's why it's called Hiranyagarbha, the golden womb. Thereupon the origination of all beings takes place. The seed is the Karana Shariram of all the beings. So that shloka is Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma Tasmin Gharpam Dadam Yaham Sambhava Sarpa Bhutanam Tatho Bhavati Bharata. The great Prakriti is my womb in which I place the seed. Thereupon, origination of all beings take place. Okay. Then come, so we are talking about the process of creation. The tanmatras, or the subtle elements, emerge from the mayas. Matra means that alone. Tanmatra means that alone. So matra means alone by itself. Tanmatra means that alone, referring to the pure essence of a sensory quality. Akasha Tanmatra, subtle space. So all these emerge from Maya. So then the light and darkness, they mix to produce all this um, this shadows and shapes. Akasha Tanmatra, subtle space. Vayu Tanmatra, subtle air. Agni Tanmatra, subtle fire. Apaha Tanmatra, subtle water. Prithvi Tanmatra, subtle earth. These are the five subtle elements, not yet gross. Okay, these are the um, before grossification. This grossification is given a technical term in Vedanta and Yoga. It's called Panchikarana. It literally means quintuplication, to produce the five gross elements. Panchikarana, or grossification, the literal word means quintuplication. Each gross element is made up of half of its own subtle element and 1/8 from each of the other four. So the gross space consists of half subtle space plus 1/8 of each of this. So half plus 4 times 1/8 is 1. And similarly, Vayu consists of half of the subtle Vayu Tanmatra and 1/8 of the other four, Akasha, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. That is how the grossification happens. Manifestation of the physical universe and the subtle bodies from these five gross elements. It happens from the five gross elements. Manifestation of the entire physical universe comes from the Stula Shariram, the gross bodies. They all come from these five gross elements. Consciousness reflects in the subtle body to form jivas, the individual selves. Just as the sun reflected in the water appears as many reflections, one Atma appears as multiple sentient beings. That is the symbolism of Chaturmukha Brahma also, the four-faced Brahma. Brahma symbolizes the cosmic mind who receives the first impulse or the sankalpa, a will to form the Ishvara. So all these entities that you see, they are symbolic of certain, during the creation process. There are certain processes that happen. And Chaturmukha Brahma, the Brahmaji with the flowing white beard, 4 heads, he had a 5th head. Apparently it was taken away by Shiva. It represents the first impulse of the sankalpa from Ishvara. And so that is the creation process. So we will stop the recording here. Then the rest of this is Jnana Drishti as Jnana Palam. How the benefit of the knowledge is how your entire outlook on life changes. Everything feels light and you become, from a dasa, you become a swami. From a servant, you become the Lord or the master. So you are in control of your circumstances. That is what we will see in the next class. So that will be the last class. With this, I will stop the recording.